all you're getting is a 3-column notes section, 3-column notes for yourselves on some things. The first column, remember, is our themes and concepts and ideas. The middle column for this particular one is your notes section, and then your third column is a self-reflection. All right. So eventually, at the end, y'all are going to be writing on this. So keep this essential question in your mind. Explain what perspective or aspect of the student learning process are you willing to reflect upon between today and the next meeting? Okay. So we're going to be talking about instructional rounds. You had it done to you because you really weren't knowingly what to look for, and so we will be reflecting on that. All right, so let's just have an open discussion. Right here, you see a picture of a classroom. In this classroom, what should everyone be doing academically for students to learn successfully? Think about what everyone's role in this picture is. Okay, who's engaging? Okay, so the teacher, we want to engage with them, right? What else? What should the students be doing? What should the teachers be doing whenever they're trying to learn? Okay, having an opportunity for the students to engage with each other. Active listening. What should the teacher do? Is she just standing there? She's what? Okay, facilitating. And what does facilitating sound like? Okay, and how does a teacher scaffold? Gradual release of information. Right. So is that all the teacher does? Is she just basically sits there and releases the information to you? I mean, does she have to do some teaching? So she has to do some instruction, right? I thought that was going to be the simplest one. She teaches, right? So, and then the students should be learning, right? But in the meantime, what's that one component that we don't just teach and the students learn? We have to scaffold. We have to actually do some questions, right? So I did come up with this little schematic. First, we have your student, right? Because we're focusing on the student learning, right? They're going to get some kind of input, source of input, teacher lecture, computer program, textbooks, or activities, right? Then our goal is to have them produce something, right? They have to speak, they have to do classwork and projects and assessments, right? And if we left it at that, what type of environment is that? If we just left it as they get information and then they have to output information, what kind of environment does that kind of remind you of? An assembly line?
Yeah.
Teacher-led? What does all that remind you of? Think of your higher learning opportunities. This reminds me of college, right? It reminds me a lot about college. You know, if I took an online class, I just sat there with the program, I was here, and I produced this, projects and homework. And some of your, depending on when you went to school, sometimes the teacher said, get out your textbook, read the book. Don't come and ask me any questions because it's on page 53, right? And then I want you to do this, or I might ask you to do this. Don't you dare do this, right? So, but in today's world, the expectation is that you have this person, the teacher, right? And the teacher, throughout this whole process, whenever there's input, should be asking questions, right? Whenever the student is trying to produce an output, should be also going in and asking questions. And then even whenever you're not asking questions, you're asking questions, right? So that as a student, eventually, as a student, I'm asking questions of myself, of my own learning. What do I need help with? What do I need to go ask the teacher about? And then as a teacher, I should be asking questions of myself as far as, are the students learning? What should my next step be in all of this process? So I did all of these question marks because I wanted to emphasize the point that questioning is so important. We could sit here and give them all of the input resources, and we can say, hey, we're going to assess you and we're going to do all of this. But we have to remember, as a facilitator, right, and as an engager, we have to put the questioning in the right spot and ask the right questions. Okay?
I think that it's important to think about the kinds of questions.
Right.
You may start with your lower level questions, just to get them going or whatever. You may even start with something that's just related to the person that really touches the book. But eventually you have to go and they see what the other questions are open-ended that spur on discussion. There may be questions that really talk to other questions that you just have.
Right, right. So really diving deep into their understanding of content, and then if they already know it, then what are we doing to expand their learning? Go ahead.
Yeah, like, if I have, like, my theory that, they start to think that this, and then what about this, what about that? And then when we were talking, I was thinking, well, one time I thought that life, like, I was answering them, or should I ask them a question back so that they can answer their own question?
It depends on your kids, right? It depends on what it is. Number one, if it's off topic, hopefully you have your agenda and your objective on the board, and you say, hey, real quick, that's a great question, but let's take a look at our objective real quick. Does it have to do with this, right? And that's how a lot of times we can redirect our students who are like, Miss, what time's lunch? Or how long are we going to do? What are we going to do next? And say, hey, you know what? We're going to get to that activity next. Just give me some time. We have to do this first. Or they ask a question, and you might say, for some, it might be a very easy, hey, yeah, let's answer that question. Let me answer that question. Or we might offer it out to the class and say, anybody else have a thought on that? Or the one that I really like is write it down on your piece of paper, go home and research it because you have a textbook, you have parents, you have the internet, and go look at it, and then let's share about it tomorrow. A lot of people have parking lots or bulletin boards. They have the kids write the question down, then the next day they write the answer and they post it back on the board so that all the kids can look at it on their own free time. And it might be one of those things where you pin them all up, and then sometime during your class, you go and you say, oh, you remember that question from yesterday? This is what the response was. You can clarify it, you can accept it, or you can expand on it and ask the kids, hey, what did y'all learn? What extra things might you be thinking about? So, yeah. It just depends on your class and how you feel that you want to manage your classroom, right? Not really a right or wrong way other than saying, no, we don't ask questions, right? So, especially if they're on something. And so bottom line is success in all of this, right? If we just went from here to here to here without guiding and questioning what they're learning, then the success is, we can increase that level of success and the more number of students that we can manage with success. Okay? Any questions about this little schema? So when we're talking about that, as a campus, we basically talked about this last time, what our problem of practice was. When students respond to a question, the responses are minimal and do not provide justification for their response. When asked to elaborate on their response, students have difficulty explaining their thought process. Right? So how do we get them to do all of that? Right? So first of all, here were our essential questions, and they're on the sides of your notes page. And so as we're going through, as y'all feel like taking notes, you can take notes, you can draw pictures, anything that helps you relate that information to yourself, right? Okay, so let's just look through them. The first one has to do with questioning. What types of questions are we asking? Are we asking those lower level questions of Costas, or are we asking the higher ones? And one thing that you'll find whenever we talk about the data next week is that there is a place for each one of these, right? Remember that our Costas level 1 is where we can find it. Exactly in the book, just like in the article. If you were to create a question, or the kids were able to create a question, they could point and answer, right? So that's level 1. One of the strategies that I had suggested to one teacher who's actually using Costas as one of her goals is to have the kids, instead of doing a hashtag or highlighting under certain paragraphs, she told them, write a level 1 question. Oh, okay, after you've read a couple of paragraphs, at this point, write a level 2 question, right? And so instead of them checking their understanding, you're checking their understanding by their ability to ask that question. What did I feel was important in that question? Or did I analyze it enough to where I could write a level 2 or a level 3 question, right? And then a level 2 question, remember, you see all of these resources everywhere. You're having to choose from 2 different resources and put it together, right? So you're making sense logically of 2 things. A lot of these things might be a compare and contrast, right? So I took this part of this story, and I put it together. I've not included anything about my opinion or my thoughts. This is only 2 resources coming together. And then what I like about this graphic that I found was for Costas level 3, is that first we start with the facts, right? What did we learn? Was it from a level 1? Was it from a level 2? And then making my own personal connection, right? A lot of times people get confused with level 3s because they start off the classes saying, oh, have you been to a waterfall? Do you like waterfalls? They said, oh, that's a level 3 because I just made a personal connection with the kiddo. But you haven't related it to anything that you've asked on a level 1 or a level 2 basis, right? You have to go to here first, and then you say, well, tell me more. Have you ever, or what do you think about, or can you predict from the story, right? You have to have read the story and understood the story before you could predict. Unless you just said, ooh, look at the title. What do you think the story is going to be about? That's more of a, that's an iffy one because you really haven't had the opportunity to dive into the concept, right? Right. Right, exactly. But a lot of people said, oh, well, I connected with the kid. It has to be a level 3. We just have to remember that we're doing a 1 first or a 1-2. Okay, so when we did instructional rounds, we went through, broke down all the questions, and then based off of what they felt, or how they felt that the kids were having to do the thinking, then they do it here. So here's an example of Costas level of thinking. We all know the story of 3 little pigs, right? If you don't, no, I'm kidding. Level 1. In the fairy tale, the 3 little pigs, of what material were the pigs' houses constructed? That's very simple. I can look in the book, boom, right there. This pig is this one, this pig is this one, this pig is this one. It has a definite answer and does not ask for a personal opinion or judgment. Level 2. Compare and contrast the houses of the 3 pigs. The level 2 question requires comparisons and distinctions between 2 or more items based on those facts. So I had to go to this part of the story and this part of the story. Did they get blown down? Did they build them at the same amount of time? Did they use the same materials? Now I have to compare and contrast between 1 or 2 pigs or all 3 pigs, right? Still, I have not said, anything about my personal bias or my own judgment. Then with level 3, if all the pigs' houses had been made out of brick, how might the story have been different, right? So this one specifically is asking your own thought process. What do you think the story could have changed if all of the houses were made of brick? How would the story have changed, right? So you're specifically asking. The one thing that I found with level 3s is that you typically don't have one correct answer.
And
Right.
my question would have been, how would it have been different if all three of the people together and make one good grade?
Oh, there you go. Right?
Instead of working individually.
Yes, exactly. And so they already had their experience with level 1 and level 2, and then now they're making their own judgment, right? So this is just to help you out. Number one, whenever you're creating questions and asking student questions, am I just doing this type, or can I get them through here and then somehow make a personal connection with them? So a lot of times we think level 3 questions have to be very complicated and difficult. They don't. We're just looking for that personal connection so that they can internalize it and make some connection with something that's already in their head. Right? Brain research says that if we can connect it to a personal experience or a personal emotion, then they're going to be able to keep that in their minds better. So, you know, a lot of times we've all studied Bloom, we've all studied other things that, oh, well, if we use certain kinds of words, then it automatically makes it that level of a question. But my challenge to that is that if I use the word explain, for example, I can get to different levels of questioning, right? So, for example, the word explain. Number one, explain what the pigs made the houses out of, right? That's a level 1 question. I can go pick out all of those things. Explain the similarities and differences of each of the houses. So I've picked it out. I'm doing a compare contrast, right? But I'm using the word explain. But the process in which that I'm explaining is having to do with the similarities and differences. Explain the type of house you would have built to keep those wolves away. Maybe some kid says, I would have used steel. I would have done an underground house, you know? But now the kids, you know, you're not going to get the same answer, right? But I use the word explain. And if I use the chart and I say, oh, the word explain, that's a level 2. And then I'm done and over with, I would never think that I got to a level 3 and I'd be sitting here trying to come up with a level 3 question when I already did it, right? So it's not very, it's a matter of changing the way that we think. It's not about the words that we use, it's about the action that the kids actually have to do, right? Does that make sense? I just know that last year and the last few years, whenever we've been talking about, you know, what level of questioning are we asking or what kind of question are we asking, everyone's like, what? I used the word identify. And so it has to be a level 1, or I use the word create. We'll create a list. Create a list of your vocabulary words is not a higher level word, but if you look at the Bloom's taxonomy, it's all the way up here. You know, but your actual thinking was down here. All right, so just another review. So every time we think about that and we prepare questions, just go back again and think about what source do they have, and you know, are they using multiple choices? And then once they've done that, are they able to add personal experiences to what they've already learned?